Central London studio by American journalist Beth Gardiner. And Beth, if I can get you to react first of all to this news, if you like, from John Boehner that he's been able to keep the Republicans at bay and whether or not that's going to continue into January.
Well, I think it's pretty clear that this has been a devastating defeat tonight for the Republicans. They are particularly the very, very hardcore faction in the House, who has been the ones driving this shutdown and bringing the country really to the brink of a debt default. They're basically doing a complete 180-degree reversal from their previous position, because Boehner's position over the last several weeks has been that he will not allow a vote to come to the floor. It will now come to the floor. I understand that the Speaker is even planning to vote for it. So this is a total reversal of what we've been hearing from them for the last 2 weeks. I think it's obviously a really good night for Obama. He stood firm, and it's paying off.
But it only takes us until the middle of January. What are your guesses, Beth, at what happens then?
Well, it's really anyone's guess what's going to happen in January. But I do think that the game has changed, because the Republicans can't really make the same threat that they have been making in the past, because we all now know that when it comes down to the wire, they will, in fact, vote to raise the debt ceiling. So I think that's really going to change the calculus and the strategy, a couple of months down the line. However, it's very clear that this has really become a pattern over the last few years. These crises, you had the fiscal cliff at the end of last year, so-called, and these 11th hour solutions. I think it's pretty clear to everybody that this is really not a way to run a country. Lurching from one crisis to the next. I think what everyone would like to see happen, and what seems to be laid out in this deal, whether it will actually happen is anyone's guess. But, the optimum would be for the Republicans and Democrats to sit down. I think they set a deadline of mid-December for a long-term 10-year deal to really address some of the big budgetary issues, the deficit, potentially revenues, new taxes Obama would like to see. So, that's what Obama's been pushing for the whole time. Who knows what's going to happen in January, but it's very clear that this has been a very bumpy road.
It's very interesting you should bring that up, because I was looking at Twitter earlier on, and the Wall Street Journal, which has got its own account on Twitter, has tweeted within the last hour, over the past 6 presidential administrations, the debt ceiling has been raised 45 times. So it would seem that it's going to be raised again.
Well, for many, many years, it was basically a routine vote that wouldn't have even garnered a headline. It's over the last few years, particularly the last, I think, 2 or 3 years, with the House majority being held by the Republicans, that it's come to be used as a political tool and a means of leverage to try to extract concessions. What we saw here was really a dispute unrelated to any of the budgetary issues that one would think would be covered by these kinds of matters, a debt ceiling and a shutdown. What happened was that the House Republicans decided that they were going to use this threat to, force the country into a default in order to extract concessions from Obama on what, would appear to be a totally unrelated issue, his health care reform plan. So, yes, it has been raised many times. The U.S. continues to borrow. But as long as the borrowing continues, the debt ceiling needs to continue to be raised the way that the president has explained it. This debt ceiling issue is that Congress, appropriates money. It spends money on various programs. The debt ceiling is what needs to be raised in order to, as they say, to pay the credit card bill. It's money that's already been spent. The question of whether this debt ceiling will continue to be politicized in the way it has been, as I said, that equation may have changed.
Beth Gardiner in Central London, we appreciate your time. So the US House of Representatives voting after Senate leaders agreed on that debt deal.